Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Dodger here. Welcome back to Formula One 2017. I got some bad news. I recorded the Monaco race weekend of the career, and I used a new recording technique. There's a new version of Shadowplay out that records the audio tracks separate, and I was very excited about that because it would help with the time syncing we've been having some issues with. Unfortunately, I didn't properly test it, and I lost most of the audio. In fact, the audio is gone. It is completely unusable and unlistened toable. It's very bad. The Monaco weekend is done, and with the way the career works, we can't go back and redo it or anything like that. So I'm going to show some highlights of how the race weekend went, put this video out there today, and then tomorrow we'll continue on our normal career mode episodes like normal. We'll just be in Canada instead of Monaco. My apologies, trying to push myself a little too hard there. I was disappointed to not have a video out for Monday to begin with, so I was trying real hard to make sure I got F1 done, and I didn't properly test it. So this is what we got. The track acclimatization went pretty well, actually. I ended up using all very used parts for practice in Monaco because I am very, very bad with this track. This is the 7th or 6th different version of F1 that I've played. Never been any good at it, and I just can't seem to get a grip on Monaco. So I knew this week was going to be pretty much just be a loss, and I didn't want to use any of the parts for our car here that we would need in the future because, yeah, like I said, it's a loss of a weekend. I'm not going to probably do very well, so I just wanted to use the old parts, see what we could get. Actually did manage to do the track acclimatization well enough to get points for the medium goal, so that was good enough, and I moved on from there. It took a couple of tries to get there. I definitely knocked the front wing off. Yeah, definitely knocked the front wing off at some point. The average tire wear one, on the other hand, I could not do that one to any degree. Like, there was no possible way I could run the lap times that it was asking for at that point and keep the tires happy. I was actually not having too much of an issue keeping the tires happy, but a very significant issue running the times that were required. I had started tuning the setup a little bit at this point, trying to get rid of some of the understeer, but really most of the understeer I was having was due to the fact of the way I was driving the car. Like, I just couldn't get the lines right to get the car to turn in right. After struggling to try and do that one, I went back out to try it again and knocked the wing off the car, but then on the way back to pit road, I turned a little too sharp into the pit entry, and then the automatic pit control took over, and it like rocketed me into the wall, knocked the wheel off the car, and that was the end of the session. Monaco. The only one that actually did go pretty well was the fuel saving. I was for some reason able to run better lap times at this point. I was starting to learn the track layout a little bit better. I didn't mention, but this is the first time I've ever driven Monaco with zero track guide, meaning no driver line, not even in the corners. So that was a pretty big challenge for me. At this point, I had done quite a few laps, and I was starting to get more familiar with braking points and turn-in points. But for whatever reason, I was able to save a lot of fuel over the course of the lap, and this one ended up being fairly easy to get a purple result for on fuel saving, which is good because that gives us some resource points for the week, because other than the OK score on the track acclimatization, there's no other points up for grab for us here, so it's going to be a bad week as far as resource points go. So I was happy to get this one. Overall, the car is not that bad. It's not really that bad with the understeer. I felt like I had a lot of issues with it, but it was more to do just with not being able to find the correct turn-in points. I somewhat wish I had turned on the driving line for Monaco this week. I think I would have had more fun with it, but it was good, I think, to make it just, the pure challenge that Monaco is, even if it's going to be, a bad week for us. It's just 1 week, and we can move on from that. So now we move on to Q1. And I had tried the qualifying program 2 times in practice, and neither time was I able to come near the goal. I think I was showing to be in like 19th place or something like that, but mostly that was due to not being able to do clean laps. The problem that I have is that these ultra soft tires take about a lap and a half before they seem to come in, but it's the first lap that ends up being the one that's quickest, which doesn't make any sense to me. I have no idea why. But the car just doesn't handle very well on this first lap on these tires. And here on my first go out, there's the wall. Just really can't seem to get the nose to rotate correctly in the higher speed turns for the first few laps. And then we hit it again for good measure, so we have to go back and put a new wing on there. The next time I went out and did a couple real slow laps, just kind of getting the car bedded in, and then for the third lap of the run, we try for a good one. I'm hoping just to make it out of Q1. That is the goal for us. Very aggressive cutting of turn 1 here on this lap. Somehow the game lets us have it. It seems like it's pretty lenient on cutting for most of the turns here, and I understand it. I mean, it's always been an issue with these F1 games, trying to balance Monaco, because I feel like the difficulty for the player increases so much here, but yet for the AI cars, it's just another track. You know, it's not as though the AI can just be detuned here without it feeling really weird. So I feel like they're a little bit more lenient at Monaco than other places, but it's still a really difficult challenge. I've never been able to quite figure it out how to perform at the same level that I can at the other tracks. Big slides there. Been having a lot of that. A little touch of the wall. Another big slide. But even with that, the lap isn't too bad. I was very pleased. It was 2 seconds faster than any lap I had turned at this point. So at that point, I just went ahead and called it. Sitting in 13th place, thought we would be pretty safe with about 3 minutes to go. And, you know, all we need to do is finish 15th. But we finished 16th. Like a little over a tenth behind Sainz, and we were out. So now we move forward to the race, and the race we're going to be starting in 14th place because a few drivers had penalties, including Hulkenberg taking a parks penalty. Pretty good start to the race. I was happy with the launch, but then turn 1, you know, there's going to be contact, and I do end up running into Magnussen a little bit, but we ended up making it through turn 1 with no wing damage, which was quite baffling to me. I was really expecting to have the race end right there, to be honest. And then things kind of seemed to sort out a little bit, actually. And 14th is our target, so it would be good just to stay here. Then a huge traffic jam down at the carousel, and we lost a good bit of front wing. So the team was thinking, pit right now, put softs on, and run the rest of the race on those tires. However, I was not a big fan of that, and I wanted to feel out how much damage there was, because if it was enough that we could run decent times and stay in 14th, I would rather just stay out and just stick to our normal strategy. For the most part, I think it was feeling good enough to do that as well. It was a pretty light hit.
Okay, we're through the start phase. Now let's build on it. Okay, take it easy on the car. We can't sustain this level of damage.
Very close to hitting the wall in turn 1 again. So now I'm starting to think about strategy, and what I've done is told them not to replace the front wing. Now that we're on lap 5 and I've got a good feel for it, what I was going to do is not replace the front wing, but then put maximum downforce in the front to try and make up for the loss of downforce in the front. now we're on lap 7, and I'm pretty happy with that idea. We're barely staying in front of Van Dorn, but another knock to the wing, and overall just really starting to feel like I was losing the nose. I decided that Hulkenberg was right behind us. I better just pit, take the wing, take the penalty of, the time lost, and stick with that strategy. Amazingly, we didn't destroy the car on that pit entry. Somehow, it really looked like it was going to be the case. But at this point, it's pretty much... it's impossible we're going to score points, but it's also looking unlikely we're going to meet our team goal, and we're going to beat Hulkenberg.
Release.
Slow stop. Slow to release too, because Ocon gets out in front of us.
Okay, stay clear of the white line on the exit. You'll receive a penalty for dangerous driving if you cross over into the track.
Now we have a car with a wing on the front of it, and a little bit more downforce on the front of it, because I made that adjustment. We got some fuel to use. I was going to use all of the car's potential to try and chase down Ocon, hoping that after the cycle of things we would come out maybe 15th or 16th, and with attrition in the race, maybe we could get back up to 14th. That's the goal. It's this section right here that I end up being a little bit better than the AI cars at, but there's no passing that happens there. So what good does that do? But at least it keeps me up there with them. Hulkenberg's in the pits. I just said that. And, yeah, we're running right with Ocon here. Really started to put the pressure on him. Hulkenberg's pretty far ahead of us still after the pit stop. But I really just wanted to get that P16, hoping there would be 2 DNFs. And then that happens. With the slickest recovery. I was real happy with the recovery of that, but it's one of the things I was most worried about. I talked about it in our 2016 playthrough. These cars are much wider in the rear, and it's very easy to catch the rear on the walls. So now we end up behind Stroll, but once again, I'm faster than him. Where do you pass, though? The answer is not there. That move was never going to work. I regretted it immediately, but I had already committed to braking late. By the time I got to the brakes, I realized it was too late. I was hoping to just, be far enough to the right that Stroll could get by, but he ended up running into the back of me. He took front wing damage, so we both end up having to go to the pits to repair the car. Wing number 2 installed. There goes Stroll. And for the rest of the race, we're just going to try and run him down. We're already a lap down at this point. Vettel was setting a blistering pace in the race. Luckily, we didn't come out into a lot of traffic, because that could have been ugly. We probably could have ended up with some serious penalties. Back onto the ultra soft tires now, but new ones. But still, it takes me a while to get these ultra softs to really come into their own. I'm pleased with the fact that by the end of the race, I felt like I could run the track for a few laps at a time at the pace I needed. I just really could not get consistent at it. Oh yeah, the turbocharger's done by the end of the race too. So that's a new part that we're having failing. It is lap 19, our last couple attempts to try and get Stroll here. Though I still honestly don't know where to pass somebody at this track. Like, where is it possible? Still sliding through that one. Vettel wins the race.
There's only one lap of fuel.
Well, we only have one straightaway to go. And that ended up being our Monaco.
Well, that's a disappointing result for sure, but we'll try to bounce back at the next
It
one.
was a disappointing result.
The World Championship Here's how things look in the driver's table. It's a good result for Sebastian Vettel, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. And now I'd like to ask you, Anthony Davidson, who was your driver of the day?
Well, my driver of the day was Nico Hulkenberg. He did a cracking job moving through the field and just highlighting why he's so highly rated in the paddock.
So we ended up moving down to 7th in points. Hulkenberg had a good day, moved up in positions but didn't score any points. Overall, it was okay. Surprisingly, though, we complete our rivalry here at Monaco, which I don't know what that means yet. I guess we'll find out. But the team, a little less happy with us. We're still in the purple, but it wasn't a great day for us here in Monaco. I'm very sorry that the issues happened with the recording. I would have loved to bring you the whole thing. Like I said, just pushed myself a little too hard. I ended up having to pull an extra shift at work, and then I really wanted to get dirt recorded, and I was like, no, I gotta get F1 done. Tried the new thing, didn't test it properly. Audio was bad. It's my bad. I apologize. Won't do ads or anything on this video. Just posted it so that you guys could keep up with the season. And like I said, tomorrow we'll move on to the regular race, and hopefully everything goes fine, and we'll be right back into the normal mix.